I guess everybody's has a copy of the PDF in their agenda. So all I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'll just go through here and hit some high points for you guys, and please feel free to interrupt at any time to ask questions, because I don't want to be too long-winded, but I don't want to not explain stuff well enough to you guys either. Okay. I'll start off with on page 1, and that's the auditor's report. And just briefly, I'll just say that as the auditors, we have no reservations on the financial statements. It's regulations that I have to read the last paragraph though. In our opinion, the consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the corporation, of the Township of Whitewater Region and its local boards as at 31 December 2016, and the results of their operations, changes in net financial assets, liabilities, and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards and local governments. Basically, that whole paragraph just says we have no reservations on the financial statements. I'll move on to page 2, which is the consolidated statement of financial position, which used to be called the balance sheet. I'll just hit a few points here. The cash and cash equivalents are down compared to last year, just mainly a timing issue. There was a purchase of a new road truck at the end of the year, and the ongoing financing of the Cobden wastewater plant upgrade. The taxes receivable are up approximately about $200,000 this year. There's one main property that represents that, approximately $168,000 of that $200,000. In percentages, the taxes receivable represents 14% of the total taxes levied in 2016. The provincial average for 2015 was 11%. So you guys are slightly above the provincial average as far as taxes receivable compared to the amounts that were levied. The accounts receivable are up slightly this year, mainly because the water and sewer receivables are up, and October, November, and December HST returns were outstanding at the end of December, all of which have come in since the year end. But just remember, this is just a picture in time. So we had slight operating loan at the end of the year of $50,000. Again, that just a timing issue at the end of the year. Accounts payable and accrued liabilities were up slightly. No one thing was there. Again, just a timing thing. Deferred revenue is up this year, and that was mainly the big chunk of that is the gas tax was to go towards the upgrade for Cornerview Road and Kerr Line, but those weren't fully completed this year. So with them not being fully completed, we didn't need the gas tax to finance it. So it's there for 2017 to be used. The net long-term liabilities are down by the amount of the principal payments during the year. Employee future benefits, it represents the road's sick leave. Down to net non-financial assets, the tangible capital assets is a net number, and the difference between last year and this year is just the difference between the additions and the amortization during the year. Inventory of supplies are down this year. They were up last year because we had an abnormal November, December last year in 2015. Now in 2016, we were back to a normal winter. Nobody was swimming this year at Christmas time like they were in 2015. So that's the difference there. We come down to our accumulated surplus. is comprised of our equity and tangible capital assets, our general fund of $84,000, our Cobden Recreation, the Whitewater Public Library, the Whitewater Region Waterworks, the Historical Society, the Medical Center, and our reserve and reserve funds, and our unfunded liabilities and our unfunded landfill closure, giving us approximately $27 million in equity. I'll jump to page 9 because I always like council to be aware of this, and for anybody sitting in the public is note 4 shows what went to the school boards and to the county, and the school board, that $2 million represents 22% of the taxes levied this year, and the portion that went to the county, that represents 30%. So basically, out of the $9.2 million that was levied in 2016, 52% of that went out of the municipality, with you guys having no say in that. That just poof went, and no compensation for doing all that paperwork and collection either. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I'd never done this before, but I presented a set of statements a few weeks ago to another municipality, and one of the councillors asked me, he says, we better throw, why don't you throw policing in there too? Because we have no say over the policing costs either. So the policing costs are $943,000, so that's another 10%. So when you look at it, 62% of your levy, you guys have no say on. It's gone. So that's just something to keep aware of. Yeah. Well, you know, that's what I'm here for.
I always want to ask the question of, like in the school boards, in that levy, when they close the school, do we get a discount the following year?
No.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right.
We'll skip to page 15. Now this is the schedule of general operations. So this statement basically is the report card for the township itself. We'll start off. I'll just go down here quick. Our net municipal taxation was fairly consistent with 2015. Our user charges were up slightly. That's the increase in the sewage rates that was approved by council during the year. Our government transfers, our Ontario grants were up, mainly because the recycling grants were up this year. And also there was a grant received for the community development position from 2015. So that was why our Ontario grants were up. Our Canada grants were down. This is where it coincides with where I was saying about our deferred revenue being up, our receivable being up on our balance sheet. Is that's our gas tax. So if the Cornerview and Kerr roads had been totally completed, then that's where the gas tax money would have went in there as Canada funds. So that's why the Canada grant money is down compared to budget. We dropped down to other revenue. Other revenue is up this year, mainly due to the 3 lots that were sold at the industrial park, which was a great bonus to the township in dollar wise. So we generated almost $7.3 million this year in revenue. Our expenses in general government were down due to staff changes through the year. Protection to persons and property, they're up slightly, again mainly because of staff changes going the other way. Transportation services were up slightly this year, mainly because we had a normal winter, and there was some additional gravel expense this year compared to what was budgeted for. Under environmental services, it was down slightly from budget, mainly that in the budget there was money put aside for the Ross landfill road upgrade, but in the end it wasn't required. And the garbage and recycling costs were down this year compared to budget. Planning and development, the actual was down considerably compared to budget, because last year it was budgeted to hire a planner here, and just circumstances led that there was no planner hired, and that was the savings under the planning and development. Now we drop down to the transfers. There was less transferred to the Cobden Recreation than expected in the budget, because there wasn't the repairs required to the arena. That was expected. I think some of the savings were done because staff ended up doing them instead of contracting it out. We'll drop down to the Historical Society. There was a little more transferred to them this year because of the repairs that were done at St. Aidan's Church during the year. We drop down, transfer to Waterworks was down this year. The actual cost for the Aquaphor study in Beechburg was less than what was inspected, so that's why there was less money required to be transferred over there. The transfer from equity and tangible capital assets was down compared to what was budgeted, mainly because I keep harping on it, but it goes back to Cornerview Road and the Kerr line not being completed. So those were two major jobs, and so that just reflects all the way through the statements. So in the end, there was a $2,100 surplus. We came into the year with an $82,000 surplus. So at the end of the day, we have approximately an $85,000 surplus as a starting point for you guys for the 2017 budget process. And I'll skip to page 27. Page 27 is the consolidated schedule of operations for the waterworks. You'll notice that the revenue was up due to the rate increase this year. But down in expenses, one real nice thing in there is that the Aqua does a reconciliation every year from the previous year, and so when they did that reconciliation, it was discovered they didn't require as much money as they had expected. So what ended up was they gave you guys a credit, and then adjusted from there forward the monthly billing. So there was a considerable savings there to the township this year. And then down under transmission, under facilities and supplies, in the budget, it was budgeted for more water breaks and repairs, and again for the Beechburg water study. So both of those came way under budget than expected. So what that led was that we were able to put that savings towards zeroing out the deficit that had come forward from 2015, and we were able to put transfer $168,000 into reserves for future capital and future expenditures down the road. And now I'll jump to page 37. and this is the schedule of operations for Cobden Recreation. Revenues were up a little bit this year over budget and over 2015 revenues. Under expenses, this is where we say, again, we showed the savings before under the transfers from the township to the recreation because of the arena repairs being down. So again, we see it here. So at the end of the day, the Cobden Recreation had a surplus of $17,000 for the year. It came in with a surplus of $4,100. So at the end of the year, they have a $21,000 surplus going into the 2017 year. We'll skip to page 41, which is the statement of operations for the library. One thing to note is that their revenue is down a bit this year compared to 2015 because there's two long-standing grants that are no longer available to them. The Ontario Library Association and the Ontario Literacy Capacity Grants, both of them have been discontinued. Their expenses were in line, and they ended up with a small surplus of $89. They came into the year with a $30,000 surplus, and at the end of the day, they have a $30,000 surplus going into the 2017 year. I'll skip to page 47. It's a statement of operations for the Historical Society. Their income was down slightly, their expenses were up slightly, and they came in with a deficit of $2,600 for the year, and had a surplus coming into the year of $8,600. So at the end of the day, they have approximately a $6,000 surplus going into 2017. I'll skip to page 52. Which is the statement of operations for the medical center, and they were consistent with prior years, and came in with a $6,300 surplus for the year, and they came in with a $32,000 surplus at the start of the year. So at the end of the year, they have a $39,000 surplus. So that was the quick and the dirty explanation of the financial statements. There's a whole lot more paper and notes and disclosures in here, but I just wanted to hit the main points with you guys, and feel free if there's any questions like tonight or after you've looked over things, just give me a shout.
Just wonder on this medical, is that the Beachford Medical Center? Or is that
Yes.
What about Cobden? That's not into this?
That's not, no. That was taken over, someone correct me if you want, but I think that was taken over by about 2 years ago by the Lanark, Lanark Community Health Center. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the building committee, so it's just the ownership of that building, not the running of the medical center. Yeah.
I got that. It's being costing more to run that. Just saying.
Okay, any questions of Will? This could be awfully easy, Will, because that's a big job. You start this in November to get it finished for tonight. That's every one of those pieces of paper you have to go through. This is a huge job, and I do personally thank you on behalf of staff and on behalf of the council for the excellent job you do and have done for years.
Thank you.
And for many more.
Thanks. Well, just not to get you off the hook there, but I didn't want to swamp you with too much paper, so I left Marcia what was called the FIR which is the regurgitation of the financial statements that have to be filed with the ministry.
Mhm.
And it's thicker than this, so, if anybody can't sleep any night, they can read this, and they can read the FIR if they'd like.
So we don't have to put Marcia under arrest, she's all right?
Yeah.
She's all right, good.
Okay, thanks again, Will.
Okay, and
Much
I'd like
appreciated.
to take this opportunity to thank all the staff for the help this year, for getting through the year end. It's becoming every year with all new regulations and stuff. It's a bigger job every year. But we get through it, and
Absolutely.
we do. Thanks
And-
again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One last thing, that we should have a motion to accept the audited
Yes.
financial statement.
It's on, under resolutions later.
Okay.
It's under resolution, yeah. Okay. Standing committee.
That's our bodybuilder, really.
Councillor Olmsted. You're up.
He's also corporate services.
Yeah, so you'll be staying up.
He'll be here for.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. You want to take a break? Yeah, it's an hour. You want to take a break? 5 minutes? You want 5 minutes?